What's going on, everybody? Asad Hashim Ali back again with another episode of Behind the Grind. Yes, it's the first one since I'm home. If the audio is shit, forgive me. And if the video is shit, then, well, you can't do much about it. We're all in a lockdown. Hope everyone is safe and sound. Guest for today is Miss Anushe Khan. Anushe, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Very well. How's the lockdown going for you?
Man, it's been interesting. I think I fluctuate between feeling really grateful to feeling really annoyed, and there's no in between, really, you know? But so far,
All right.
learning how to.
Yeah. I like how you said that, fluctuating from like being grateful from feeling like really horrible. I was talking to my aunt right now, and she's in Canada, and she's like, everyone's just stuck. We're so fed up. And I'm like, I just hate how people are forgetting that they need to be grateful also, especially if you're like in our position. I think that you have to try practicing that on a day-to-day basis. But we're all human. We're all human at the end of the day. So for all those listening, Anushe is basically that big sister I wish I had but never had. She's been there for me throughout many ups and many, many downs. And she's always been someone who's picked me up, which is why she's been on the list. And eventually, now I have her on Behind the Grind. So Anusha has always been a huge supporter of setting me up for whatever I'd want to do. I don't even know if Anusha remembers this, but back when I was in uni, you were helping me with my resume, you were helping me with my cover letter, you were helping me figure out, should I actually pursue something in film or should I go to Unilever? And we were trying to figure out ways to get a foot into PMI and Unilever and all these corps as well. So if you're in uni right now, unfortunately, the market's shit, but if you are looking for some career advice, then you won't get much from here, but you will hear some really true stories. So, Anushe, let's dive right into it. You always wanted to be a writer. Is that correct?
Yeah, ever since I was a kid, I think I've always been inclined towards it, but it was weirdly a guilty thought. Like, I thought that wasn't something that I could admit to, really, because proper career paths were going corporate or doctor or this or that or whatever. And I think on some level, no matter how easygoing your family is, if you come from like desi parenting, these are the practical ways in which they push you forward. So I used to write since I was like 8, but it's only when I was 24 that I thought, no, you want to be a writer,
Yeah.
And even then, there's like this embarrassment that's associated with it. So if anybody asks me what I do, I'd be like, oh, I do this, and I, as if unless you're a published author, it's not a real thing. But yeah.
So it's always been secondary, and now it's done. And there was a point in time where you actually made it primary, right?
Yeah. So actually, the thing is that something like writing can't just be unless it takes off, unfortunately. And I'm talking strictly in terms of like fiction writing because that's what I'm interested in. Obviously, with journalism and article writing and blogging or whatever, there are different directions it can take. But I think the good and the bad part about being me is that I'm very specific about what my dream is, and it's that or nothing else, right? So even with writing, in order for it to become like my primary pursuit, I have to be really kick-ass at it, and that takes years of practice. So like writing definitely has, and still to a certain extent is a secondary thing because you still have to supplement your income until you can like depend on that as your only source of income. But what I've been able to do while pursuing my goal is to sort of create these multiple paths, all of which I enjoy. So I finally come to a point in my career where I'm just like, everything that I'm doing currently is leading to something, and it's all beautiful for lack of any other term. But yeah.
So let's actually go. Let's go back in time a little bit. Walk me through how was your path and your journey after high school, during uni, and then once you got to your first job. What was that time like?
It was very difficult. The thing is, even though I knew what I wanted, there was a lot of pressure, let's say, like from doing it the right way. So for example, with my O levels, there was have to take science subjects, right? Then I went on to doing my intern was computer science. Then I went into a university going into a bachelor so it's of business. And firstly, none of these careers really converged at any point. All of them were in very different directions. And although I knew what I wanted to do, I still seemed to be meandering somehow. And like I remember having this really heated argument once with my family where I was just like, what is the point? Because I actually went to university around 2008 when the recession was hitting and stuff. And their argument always was making money is important. You're very wishful in your thinking, that you're going to go out there and, life is not about money. Life is about money. It's how you get by. But for me, it's always been a means to an end. And even then, my argument was, what is the point of being mediocre at something which everybody is a part of, when I can be the best at something that maybe not everybody is a part of. And that's always been my philosophy, even if I haven't been able to act on it. So even when I started working, again, it was very difficult, right? Because like, went to CS, private school, different way of education, whatever, went to Zabis, different setup, different ways of doing things, different system of education, went into the corporate world, again, was coming from two different bubbles or into this new different world. Then there's corporate politics, there's this, there's that, there's just the general lack of willingness in terms of doing my work. So yeah, it was all incredibly difficult. And I'm also one of those people who needs to wear the thing through. Like I needed to know that I didn't want to do it for show, So I tried different things within the corporate sector. So I did the whole banking thing as an internship. I did the MNC thing. I did the local company thing. I did the management trainee thing. I did the development sector thing. And I was just like, man, just accept it. This is not the path for you. And it will be very difficult for you to explain to people that it's not the path for you, but you've known it since you were a kid. Just own it now. And that's when I quit.
So do you think that trial and error was actually sorry?
5 years later.
5 years later, yeah. So, do you think that it was that trial and error was more for other people and not really for yourself?
Yep. For sure. Even before I left the corporate world, it was like, see, I was able to make this happen, this happened, this happened. I did this, I did this. I proved something to myself and to everybody else, but this isn't. There was a really big factor as far as everybody else was concerned, but I think there was also a personal thing because I also had this fear that maybe I don't want to do it because I don't think I'm good at it or I'm not good at it. So this was also my way of saying it's not that you're not good at it, you're just not inclined in that direction. So once I had proved that to myself as well on a certain level, I was like, okay, you got what you had to. And at this point onwards, it gets serious. You can't be half-assed about how you do this because you're never going to get ahead. And in fact, you will get fired, because after a certain point, it is like, okay, after this, you go in becoming mid-level, becoming manager, you're becoming a director, you're becoming this, you're becoming that. Your responsibilities increase, they don't decrease. So unless you're able to give it that type of focus and commitment, you're not really going to be able to go places. So it was one of those turning points where I was just like, either I stick it out and then that's the trajectory, or I just stop here and then actually do what I need to and find my purpose.
Yeah.
Or reclaim my purpose.
Yeah. So it's like you knew that if you wanted to stick it out, you could. And that was like, for you, that's that you had, there was never that doubt in yourself or that lack of confidence that, if I wanted to get it done, I would have still like kicked ass and like made it to the top, but I don't need to. That's not my scene.
Exactly. And actually, it wasn't even as clear cut sometimes. Like, I actually quit the corporate world and went back as well. And that was, again, one of those moments where it wasn't an easy decision, where I'd made a switch in my career and I realized, you know what, you might have moved too soon. Because at that point in time, that fear was still alive. But I was just like, are you quitting because you don't want to do this, or are you quitting because you don't think you're good enough? And that seed of doubt was very, very strong.
And so that's when you went back to PMI the second time, right? No.
I somehow got lucky as well, like, that they ended up calling me and I was like, sure, let's do this.
Yeah.
And I went back and it was a wonderful experience. I did really well the time that I was there. I made some good friends. The work was fine or whatever. And once I reached a certain point, I was like, okay, now I know what the role is. Mm-hmm. And now I know that to do it. I just know that it's not for me. And then I left the second time. And even when I left the second time, obviously, like when you've left once before, you're not taken as seriously and everyone's like, so okay, see you again in a year. But, like I knew that this time.
Yeah. Little did you know they were waiting and they're like, where is she? They're looking at outside the doors like she's supposed to be here. Where is she? No, but that's cool. So let's come to your purpose. Actually, you mentioned that it was about reclaiming your purpose, but that purpose, so I was actually tagged on Instagram recently about like, these challenges are popping up for like the COVID. Like someone tagged me and like for expressing your why, like what is your why? And me to pad gayi thi na. First, like, I was like, I don't know what my why is. Why are you asking me? What makes you think I know what my why is? But
Yeah.
coming to your why, coming to your purpose, when did you actually discover that? Like, what was that defining moment? What were those series of events that got you to realize, okay, I need to, my purpose is X, and now it's time to reclaim that?
I think it had a little bit to do with always feeling unsettled in what I was doing, right? So whenever I was in a certain field or doing certain amount of work, there was something that didn't feel right for me. So I can't say that, oh, the job was bad or this, because it works for different people, different things work for different people. And I feel like your purpose, if you are evolving as a person, keep getting, will keep evolving as well. And it's possible there's the same purpose, it just ends up becoming more and more, it has more finesse as it goes on, right? So when I left, I was like, I want to write, but then there were all these like whys associated with it. I wasn't really able to resolve them. And I think over time, in the 2.5 years that I haven't been a part of the corporate world, I've come to realize that like it's all about connecting. And for me, my writing is a way of connecting. The business that I run right now, which is basically public speaking for kids, is a way for me to connect with them. So ultimately, my purpose is to be able to connect with others, and as far as my writing is concerned, give them material that resonates with them so that they can find themselves in the words, and in that they find comfort or a safe space. So what I basically want to be able to do is, connect with people and create a safe space for them. So I aim for that in my classrooms, and I aim for that in my writing as well.
Interesting. And that's something that you realized with time. It wasn't something that even in your early 20s, did you know that's this bond
No,
basically that you want to create with people through your art, your
yeah,
craft, your business?
not at all. I had absolutely no idea. I just thought I wanted to be right. I just wanted to write and be famous. And if I wasn't famous, then I wasn't going to write. That was the crux of it when I was younger. It's just that when you grow older, you realize, no, that's not it actually. Because I mean, I've written a fair bit and I'm really not famous yet, but there's a sense of fulfillment you have when you write something. It's just different. It's like even
Yeah.
if one person reads it and they're just like, wow, that was good, and I felt this, that, or whatever, there's this satisfaction you get from it that you don't get from anything else. And it's the same thing with my classes. Like if I have even one parent who comes to me and says, you made a difference, and my kid was able to connect with you, he can't connect with anybody, and he's doing so well now, it's like, cool, job well done. And impact with even one person, great. So yeah.
Great. Awesome. Awesome. So you never felt that this was something that was too far-fetched? And I don't want to get into the speak up yet, actually. But just your
Okay.
just your dream or your purpose or your desire, you never thought that was like a far-fetched idea in any way? That
I thought it was super far-fetched.
yeah.
Be a writer, wanting to be a successful writer. I used to research writers all the time. So any Pakistani author I knew had studied abroad, had gotten that degree, had dedicated their life to it. Um, just were more arty maybe. I thought there was a certain personality type that fit into the writer
Mm-hmm.
bill, didn't fit into. Um, and like I said, it was just like either you're successful and that's what qualifies you as a writer, or nothing at all. So no, I didn't think it was at all achievable. In fact, even when I used to tell people that, oh, I want to be a writer, they'd be like, okay, so journalist. And I'd be like, no. Okay, so blogger. And I was like, no. Okay, content writer. It's like, okay, sometimes I need to do that to make money, but no, right? Because for them, they're still trying to figure out if you, like, even when I quit my corporate job, there was actually a really dear friend of mine from there who I got along with famously, and he was like super ambitious, super bright. We got along great. But even when I was leaving him, he was like, "What's wrong with you? You're just gonna sit in bed and write poetry. Like, why can't you do that while you're working?" So there were so many people who couldn't fathom what writing fiction meant, because they just thought of it as like a fluff job. And because I'd also been surrounded by that sort of mindset for so long, I also, like I said, I felt a certain level of embarrassment to say that like I want to write, because I thought it's fluff. It's only when you start doing it you realize actually it's probably the most difficult thing you're going to do. It is actually a really challenging profession,
Yeah.
which makes it more interesting.
I remember you went for one of those
You are
uh
stuck now in my.
am I fine?
Yeah, now you're fine.
See, people, this is the reality of doing these conversations while you're on lockdown. Internet is shit. All right, doesn't matter if you have 100
This is my
Mbps.
biggest problem with COVID.
Bandwidth, right?
Oh, you're stuck again.
Better?
Yeah, now you're back.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, bandwidth is a big problem during COVID, isn't it?
Serious problem.
Hmm. So, um, this actually, I remember you going to one of those writers, writing escapes or those trips. I don't know what the right term is, but like retreats, right? Long time
So
ago.
on a writer's retreat, I joined writers forums. So that's the thing. I was trying to look for some validation, right? So I've been told by the corporate world that that's not a thing, and then I went around finding different writers groups that I could be a part of, communities that I could be a part of. So then I realized that actually I'm not alone in this dream, right? There's actually a really big organization known as DC Writers Lounge, who I immediately got associated with, and I ended up doing this thing known as NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. And actually, yeah, speaking of my writing dream, it came to full life in 2014 when I was about to leave my job at National Food. There was one of those really big moments in my life for me where I felt like I sat there and a book was pouring out of me. And I sat there throughout my resignation period, sorry, National Foods. And from 9 to 6, all I would do is just like sit there and type away at this like book that I was creating. And it was such an amazing and surreal experience that had never happened to me before. And then it stopped, right? And then I went around chasing that same book again. So I joined Desi Writers Lounge. I tried to complete it in NaNoWriMo, and then I tried to turn it into something that it wasn't. Like I said, like at that point in time, I thought that you write because you get famous, because you're whatever. So the reasoning was all wrong. I wanted to preach things. I wanted to tell people about my experience. I wanted to be wise. The more you want to be something, the less it shows on paper, right? I was just like
Uh,
this person on paper, and I wasn't even realizing why it was happening. And over time, I joined, for example, DC Writers Lounge, where there were other writers who were in the same journey as me. So I was like, cool, I'm not alone. There's a bunch of people from like the age of 16 to 45, all trying to do the same thing. Um, then I did a bunch of courses online where I was showing my work, but anonymously, and I was getting feedback on it. And then I was improving, and I was like, that's interesting. And the thing that I learned was that when I was talking shit on paper, people were able to detect it so easily. You know, it was just like, oh, you're trying here and you're trying here. And it's just like, you also realize that, you know, in the corporate world or in your job, and you know, you feel like you can outsmart people. In writing, you
mhm.
can't outsmart anybody. You can't, because they
You
can
can't.
see. There's like so much honesty that is required in order for you to be good. And that's why it's such a grueling process. And then again, you know, I was still not in the same journey as others. So I actually ended up finding this Pakistani author called Bilal Tanveer, who's also a professor at LUMS. And I just like wrote him. I was like, hey man, don't know how to do this. You know, I want to write. What would you suggest? Should I try for a master's program? Should I like join a writers community? Like, how does this work? And he was basically like, does it work any which way you want it to? And he put me in touch with two of his ex-students from LUMS, and we ended up creating this thing called a writer's circle, which was this writing community, which went from 3 of us to like 16 of us who like talk books, talk literature, write together, check each other's work, all of that. And with this community, I saw myself improve as a writer. But with that, I also realized that no matter how many people are in the room with me writing, ultimately it's a solitary process. So the entire thing is still on me. You know, so I can go around creating this outside world and outwardly things.
Mhm.
It's not about, it's all about what's going on inside. And as long as I'm able to connect there, I'll be able to produce work of good quality out there.
Interesting. Wow. So, so all of this discovery, all of this whole journey as a whole, how'd that lead up to Speak Up, your baby now? Let's talk about that.
Honestly, initially it just started off as me like trying to make money. So when I quit,
Yeah.
also get used to earning a certain amount of, you
Yeah.
know, money. And like with me, it was like I had my room, I had my desk in the corner. All of a sudden, I went from like giving orders, getting congratulated on a presentation, da da da, to nobody applauding me for like anything, you know. And a lot of it was just like rubbish applause. I didn't even need it, but like whatever. and all of a sudden you're quiet in your room trying to figure out how to make the next buck. And initially I started content writing, so I wrote all these like the things I had to write. If you've ever seen, and I hope it never comes up, but like on Instagram, if you've ever seen those really sleazy kind of um, animated cartoon things, like what do you think she's going to do next? A, go into the office.
Yeah,
B,
yeah,
yeah. So that was one of my first projects. Okay, I was like horrible, and
Wow.
I wrote like 24 of those, and I really hope they never come up. Then I ended up doing I ended up subtitling a Pakistani drama. Okay, so I like for iFlix. So I did God knows how many episodes of that. I watched the whole of Yakin Ka Safar, followed that through, you know, and did that. Then they realized we're paying her way too much for what she's doing. So they like that was the end of that. But had that continued, honest to God, that would have been fantastic. Um, then other than that, then I started doing like product reviews from like Swiss cheese to bags to like pillows. Like I had random information about everything under the sun over here. And I was just like, we need to find something more sustainable, right? So I also had this
Yeah.
one bichara who I was like teaching at the time, and his mother basically said that, oh, like he has trouble speaking in front of people and stuff. So how about I put together a group of 5 kids for you? Just make me a cute little poster, and you can maybe do like public speaking classes with him because I wanted to speak up in class and stuff. I said, cool. Wanted to go on a holiday that year, needed some shopping money. I was like, great. And when I taught that class, it was like 11 to 13-year-olds, and I had a fantastic time. They had a fantastic time, and I actually saw the impact it was having on the kids as it was happening. So I was like, I think there's something here. And it also really resonated with me because when I was in the corporate world, this was one of my biggest issues that I see like the smart people, if they weren't able to communicate their message properly, या तो वो चुप हो जाते थे, they wouldn't say anything, yeah, if they said it, it didn't matter. What would happen is that the people who would come in shining and shimmering and actually saying nothing, but just saying it in a way packaged really well would be getting ahead, whereas the ones who were actually working hard were. So I was just like, where does the problem start? And honest to God, it's school. And even when I was in school, I was supremely shy. So all of a sudden, it all started going in my head. And so while I was on my holiday, I was like, can this become something? I think it will become something. And then I was like, what age group do I think is going to become something? And I was like, you know what? Teenagers are really rough. And, that's where I should start my first batch. I'm going to go home and I'm going to do this properly. So the first thing I did was I put together this video, which in hindsight was stupid because my program is called Speak Up and I mimed the whole thing out. So technically I should have been talking. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Right? Now I realize, but whatever. Got like props for it anyway. And I put together my first batch. जिस पे मुझे बेचारे 3-4 बच्चे आ गए थे इधर उधर से. And then a bunch of parents started saying, what 7-year-olds? Why not for 8-year-olds or whatever? And I was like, because I think 11 to 13-year-olds need it. Which is the second lesson in business, which is listen to the customer and don't always think you're right. So I was like, all right, you know what, man? I'm going to try the 7 to 10. I don't know if I'll be able to help them, but whatever.
Yeah.
7 to 10 is where it's at. And actually, in terms of even teaching them, it's just that's where you're able to create the most impact because they haven't really become people yet. When you're a teenager, you've got like, then your personality is forming, right? You're rebelling, you have your values, you have this, you have that. When you're 7 to 10, you can still be like shaped in terms of like the beliefs and the views that you hold
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. So then 7 to 10, then I went to Huck, went to Bayview, and then Usse started expanding to more schools. Currently, I'm at Cedar, Grammar, etc., and hoping to grow it more. So what started as holiday money really turned into something stupendous because like the kind of kids that come to me are fantastic and parents come to me and they actually trust me with and I see the evolution and that's what's so beautiful. And what the good part about teaching confidence building or public speaking is that it's not that he got a 9 out of 10 and you can tell that to the parent and they're with you because it's not a race anymore. It's depending on where they're at their journey, and parents understand that. So all of a sudden, we're like this team. You know what I mean? The parent, the
Mm-hmm.
child, and I were actually working towards the same goal, and everyone's congratulating each other for getting better. So that in itself is such a beautiful thing to be a part of. So yeah, that's Speak Up
Wow.
for you.
That's cool. So it all started off as like a mere little hustle, and it was nothing sexy about it, and it just became something that's beautiful and having such a big impact. Wow.
Yeah.
And here I was thinking that yeah, Anusha is doing Speak Up. This has to have like some. She's maybe she saw something when she was a kid, and there was some reflection, and it's
Yeah.
like, let's fix that. But that was like a byproduct also, right?
Man, that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, I'm gonna sound really cheesy right now, but like, I'm all about like famous people and their quotes and this and that. So,
I
like
feel you,
Steve
man.
Jobs
I
had
feel
always said
you.
that, like, when you look back, right? I know you feel me. I know you get it. So with Steve or whatever, he'd be like, if you look back, then you can connect the dots, but you can't connect the dots going there. So I feel like I've sort of like embraced that philosophy ever since I quit the corporate world. Because if anybody asks me why you're doing this, I'm just like, at this point, it isn't. And then when I look back, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Given what my upbringing is, given where I was at with my all of it sort of like fits together. It's just that I won't be able to articulate it as it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, interesting. So did you? I'm still blown away by the fact that before Speak Up, after the corporate world, you were also writing Swiss cheese reviews. I had no idea about that. I'm not even blown. Like the subtitling of Urdu dramas, I get that. The Pakistani dramas, I can see where the money's at. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's did you again? So the same pushback question. This is something that you're doing for yourself. So and even in these notes, you saw that I wrote like, what was the step as an entrepreneur? And even that term is so like over gratified and romanticized now also. Uh, but like, uh, did you ever shit your pants, like for the lack of a
Yeah.
better question, in this process? That do what if this is like blows up in front of me? Ek batch
Oh
अच्छा
my
चल
God.
गया, दो batch अच्छे चल गए,
10
then
months I was shitting my pants. अभी भी हो सकता है. It can happen at any given point, right? But I also feel like that's with anything. It's just that you realize it. You know,
yeah.
you can lose. Who knew we would be sitting here? बचपन में हम लोग के ये होता है. It used to be a dream that, oh, I wish my O levels are cancelled and I'm graded only on my school exams. Who would have thunk it? You know, that we're here right now and that actually might be happening for kids, right? So it's just like
Yeah.
it is chaotic, and to assume that things are just going to work out because you've done this. I think that's what I've learned in these 2.5 years, because I went from like, this is the step, and this is the step, and then you get here and this happens. Whereas actually, truthfully, if you're actually being honest with yourself, that's not how the world works. So, and I think I've sort of accepted that about life. So yes, I mean, the first 8 months were really difficult for me because again, I was coming from that sort of mindset into what felt like complete chaos because of the kind of work I was doing. But what I've realized is that somehow or the other, when you need something really bad, it does happen. Like it
Mm-hmm.
together in a way that you didn't expect. Like even with this coronavirus or whatever, I was just like, how am I going to do online classes? What are going to become of them? How like English math aap padha sakte ho online. How am I going to teach kids how to speak? The
Yeah.
cameras, their voice. My lessons are better. I've actually like done things in these lessons where I was just like, these kids understand my lessons better than they did when I was doing my classes face to face. I will actually incorporate this, right? Or I've this fantastic like non-fiction ebook project that just dropped out of nowhere in the middle of this or whatever. So what I've realized is that like things happen. You just got to keep making the effort and say no to the right projects and say yes to the right projects, and just the ball will keep rolling. And if the product is good, man, everything else falls into place. You just need to know that your intention in your product is in the right place. So yeah.
Drew, this is taking me back to when I was like 20 years old and you were giving me this kind of wisdom back then also. So it's been
Now I'm
5 years.
using it, right?
Well,
Now I'm
उस टाइम पे क्या
reliable.
बातें थी क्या?
If I'm still working for tobacco, I'm saying follow your dreams, man. That like talking rubbish.
No, but
good, it worked on you.
it did. Yeah, I think it did. I don't know. we'll find that out in
Sure.
5 years time as well. We'll see. But so I like how the way you're putting it all also, and many of us just forget this, that it's never linear, right? Your trajectory is, it's
Right.
always made to be that, and this is a very simple thought also, that you climb those steps, climb that ladder, mehnat karo, usi raaste pe raho. But that's not fucking true.
15 साल गुजार लो बेटा.
Yeah,
Nobody likes it. And it's just like,
yeah. But I personally think that you still need to go through that, because if you don't go through that, you won't get that realization.
yes, I
So it's like a
agree with that.
twisted little lesson that you have to learn, and like,
True. But also, there's different ways to learn that lesson. That's also not linear.
yeah, true. That's why I wait for people to fuck up around me so that I can learn their lessons and not fuck up myself. But
Yeah, that's a good
that's
one.
one. That's so true. So with speak up, did you ever feel that pushback? You ever like, um, I know there's a fear of it, like just stopping one day. How long has it been? It's been, you said, over 10 months, over a year now,
No,
right?
it's been like a year and a half now.
A year and a half now, right? Oh, time flies, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, was there ever that pushback initially, or was it always something that you actually got support from, especially from family?
I think I come from a family of teachers, so that's something that they also understand and appreciate. So
Okay.
I feel like the moment I got on the journey and I was believing in my journey, somehow everybody else started believing in it too. So again, like I said, it always comes back to your
Hmm.
own yourself or whatever. So when I
Yeah.
started, people were very supportive, and actually there was a lot of external validation that I was getting, like wow, and especially from people my age, the people who messaged me and said, I wish this was there when I was a kid, and friends of mine who I wouldn't have ever pegged to be like shy or whatever when they were kids, they said that we've all been through it, right? So
Yeah.
externally everybody like great program, and that sort of spurred me to continue. And there is a need, I'm not trying to
Hmm.
sell you something
Yeah.
doesn't exist. Confidence issues are a real thing. You put me in front of a camera now, my first 5 minutes are still like this, like I can't help
Yeah.
it. It's everybody, so it's a lifelong skill. So on some level, whether it becomes this or this,
Yeah.
it'll keep chugging along, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
But how do you think that schools actually took it? Like, um, like, for example, when you say public speaking, I remember you spoke to me about it for Cedar also, and
Yeah.
um, I know at an older age group, especially for like high schools or A level schools, there'd be that, well, public speaking तो हम भी कराते हैं, लेकिन
हाँ.
आप लड़ने झगड़ने के लिए कराते हैं, आप ये भी तो नहीं करते ना कि वो बंदे के कॉन्फिडेंस भी आए साथ साथ, right? There's no equality in that process, I feel. So how did schools take that? How did they
It's,
receive it?
it's a tough sell in certain places, right? Because I mean, I'm not drama.
Hmm.
I'm not MUN. I'm not whatever. I'm confidence building. But I mean, I also take that as an advantage because then all of this can come under my ambit. You know, storytelling also can come under my ambit. I can borrow from improv, drama, theater, and it can be a part of it. Debate can also be a part of it. MUN can also be a part of it. Now I have a platform which is related to articulation. Now, when I sell myself outside of schools, this works great. For schools, this can be a problem, but only for the older lot because then they become a little bit more MUN and this and that. But what's good about schools these days and what's changing is the fact that after school programs are becoming a thing, right? So it just becomes okay, you don't need to pitch this to me, you need to pitch it to the parents. So then all of a sudden there are like these stalls that are out there, and then if you're able to convince the parent of that need or if the child sees that he enjoys it, they can be a part of it. So I think that's where I've sort of lucked out, where I haven't really had to explain. There's drama, there's me, there's public speaking, there's whatever.
Hmm.
Pick what you like. So yeah, that way it's been good. But I think schools are a lot more open-minded in terms of what they're doing now than when say I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I think more room for something like this than
Mm-hmm.
say like 5 years ago.
All right. Sweet. Sweet. So now Speak Up has also, well, Anushe Khan has also gone into collaborating with other people, or Speak Up has gone into
Yeah.
collaborate with other people. So tell me about that. What is after school?
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I think with the coronavirus hitting, one of the good things that have come out is that everybody wants to help a brother out. Okay, so I was basically with Jump Chinese, and she's this girl. It's run by two girls, Maria and Solid, both lovely. Maria is often next to me in these stalls, and we're like pitching to each other and pitching, like it's really like
Yeah.
great thing to be a part of or whatever. And when this hit, I was like, hey man, maybe I'll do like a session with her and we'll do one together where we kind of discuss what we do in our classes. So we ended up playing a bunch of games with each other. She named Harry Potter and like Chinese. I had to guess. I did a bunch of my speak up like games with her, whatever, just to give people an idea in terms of what we do. And to sign up for our online classes, because obviously all of us had to go digital when schools weren't a platform for us anymore, and all of us were pushing that more aggressively, to also realize that everybody's in this together, right? So we've got our after school programs who are suffering. We've got our kids who
Hmm.
need things. We've got our parents who are scrambling about for resources, from going to managing their jobs to managing their homes to managing their kids. All of that becomes combined. And we just basically wanted to create a platform where all of us get a chance to basically benefit, right? So
Yeah.
now after our basically initiative, which has multiple sort of messages which we hope become clearer over the course of time. So one is just a place where people can get resources for their kids. We've got like this database with this cool little QR code where you can download things as they go on or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, we've got live sessions and demo sessions that we do with different after school programs. So like what they're teaching, what classes are happening, demo kara diya, parents benefit because they learn whether that's something they want to sign up for. After school programs benefit because they can showcase it. And then also over time, I want to show that learning can be fun. It doesn't need to
Yeah.
be 1 is equal to 2 is equal to A plus in my math in my A level, right? Like every kid learns differently, multiple intelligences. Learning can be fun. Playing is a part of learning. All of that. So building that context around learning, which I wish that we had when we were younger. And I feel like as after school programs, we have the privilege of, right? Because even when Maria and I were talking, we're just like, we're so lucky that we can go and just have a goofy and fun time with our kids, get them to learn and leave. We don't have this like boxed
Yeah.
assembly line stuff that we need to teach with, which our education system is unfortunately like carved around, right? They don't have a choice but to teach like that. With us, we get to teach differently, and that's what's fun. But over time, I would hope to encourage children to learn in those different ways. So yeah, it's just a platform for all of us to connect and just learn how to learn better.
See, I like that. Learn better, and it's again like you said it. It's this is one of the great things that's come out of the virus, also the pandemic and the
Yeah,
lockdown. That we're pushed into that. Like we're pushed in a very uncomfortable position that
yeah,
everyone has to adapt. And like my partner,
yeah,
herself, my partner is a mother of two,
yeah.
and I actually pushed her towards after school, and she's like, okay, this is
Hmm.
actually pretty cool. Like this is something that I could potentially like use or like explore with my kids because, well, as it
Hmm.
is, like I know I completely understand that even though I'm not a parent, I'm gonna try and act like a dad, but like I completely understand that well, parents are in a really sticky situation. Teachers are in a really sticky situation that they have to go online. They have to relearn everything, right?
Yeah.
And you're the modern teacher from your family, right? Like your mom, I'm pretty sure also had to like relearn a lot of things.
Jari, for her, it's so much tougher because with me, my kids are older and I can just goof around with them. She's teaching
Yeah,
them language, phonics, and holding things up, trying to keep a 4-year-old interested in what you're teaching when you can't reach out and do that for them. Kids
yeah,
get destroying your toys. Like, how do you
yeah,
manage chaos and still teach? It's actually quite difficult.
yeah. So how do you think that during this lockdown, actually, um, schools have well, actually, let's come back to schools for a second. Um, but how do you think that schools have adopted or sorry have adapted to the lockdown itself? Do you think they're doing a good job in actually passing on the lessons?
I think everyone's just doing the best they can.
Yeah.
Like that's the unfortunate truth of it all. Like, I mean, we're all learning as we go along. Like I said, I was
Mm-hmm.
petrified in my online sessions. I had no idea how they would turn out. It's just when we did it, I realized
Mm-hmm.
that something that's manageable. Grammar did its classes until like now, I think.
Yeah.
Um, we're trying to understand how to do online learning. I don't know what's going to become of schools opening in June, July. I don't see it happening because I feel like right now the utmost responsibility is just to make sure that your kids are safe. The learning will happen. The learning will happen through play. Like I said, we're here for the online classes. You just sit
Yeah.
back, entire world is in lockdown. 3 months na padne se, there's not going to be some mega damage.
Yeah.
Like we're all supporting each other. In fact, schools have been so supportive where like the principals of certain schools have messaged and said, how about you send us your um, posters and we're going to put that up on our app so that children are still learning on some form or the other. So schools are actually still encouraging after school programs through their platform still, which
Wow.
is, yeah.
Cool. But I have this reservation also with like,
Sorry,
sorry, continue.
I didn't hear you. Go on.
I have this reservation though with primary schools in particular, because primary schools also are very protective of what they're doing, and they think it's a secret sauce. And that secret sauce can't go anywhere. It's like this rivalry of Burger King and McDonald's, except with like 50 schools in one neighborhood, you know. And I feel like in that the kid is missing out then. Someone like you pops in and is offering something which is great. And I'm not saying that there's a lot of other people also out there, right, who are trying to help the kids, or who are trying to, well, at the end of the day, run or start up a new business in education or innovate in education itself. But it's just like, I feel like this is pushback, especially with younger kids, because then their after school activities end up becoming private tuitions to get into another school, or to migrate out or something like that, I feel. But that's just me.
No, it is true. It is a big problem, but that's a societal problem also, right? Because everything for us is very results oriented. So if you
Yeah.
can't see, like, that's why stuff like robotics and STEM, aside from the fact that it's amazing, no offense to anybody who does it, I think it's great. But that's why they're more inclined towards that, right? Because they understand science, they understand math, they understand technology.
Yeah.
It's the way our system operates. So, like, I understand why there is a pushback in terms of the kind of programs that we run. And honestly, uh, not every school is even ready for it. Yeah, there's certain schools who have
Hmm.
the idea, but certain schools also can't because they're like,
Yeah.
we've got a education system, we've got these O levels that kids need to do. We have 25 branches. How do you think we're going to do this with? Which is, honestly, God, fair enough for right now. But the fact that it's trickled into the system, the fact that it started, the fact that the change has begun, it is going to take time. But at
Hmm.
least we're heading in the right trajectory. That's all you can ask for, really.
True. So actually, so let's come back to after school. I like the name, by the way. How'd that come about, after school?
After school, now we're after
After.
our program,
Nice.
like an after
uh
party, after.
after yeah. um so what is this, what's the trajectory looking like that right now? Like, you've got material on for and you're continuing to collect material
Yeah.
for a particular age group, or this is spanning out across?
A little bit open, and I think as we grow, we'll see which direction it falls in more. But I think the age groups we're looking at is say like 4, 5, all the way down to say 14, perhaps. O levels ke baad
Mm-hmm.
I don't get anybody being as interested because, like I said, they have an agenda. Give your O levels, that's it.
Yeah.
But the younger lot, there are more exercises that can be done. But we can sort of rope in the 14-year-olds and the 5-year-olds. But I think the main thing will be around 6 to 11, 6 to 12, and the kind of programs that we've so far showcase have been different. So like I said, we've got like a little resources thing. We've got a QR code, you can access it. If you have resources you want to share, please share them. That's the thing, it's an open platform. It's not let me
Yeah.
tell you, please tell me,
You guys are an
let's have.
aggregator. You guys are collecting everything, yeah, together.
Yeah. So instead of going on like this page and that page and this page, how about you just come here, pour it all, you know what you're looking for. Every Wednesday you'll have a live session, you learn how these people do their stuff. Every Saturday you'll have a demo session, you'll deal with it. And every week we want to call on different people, right? So we've done a session with Little Medical School, which is basically, kids
A
who
little
want.
medical school.
Yes, a little medical school, and it's kids figuring out whether they want to be doctors or not. We've got grassroots, which was English related. We had Helen O'Grady, which was drama. We have this week we have STEM 360. Okay, so we're doing a
Nice.
session with them. We had a Park Studies teacher come on who was like, "Hey, you think that you just need to study your O levels? Actually, start answering your questions right when you're 11." She did an entire session teaching us how to break up your answers in a way that you should, teaching me something too, actually. And next week and the weeks after, hopefully, I'm also looking to introduce teachers who teach dance, right? So Kathak and footwork or ballet or whatever, all of it comes together. That's the thing. It's like, that's not just recreational, that's actually great for you mentally. So different aspects of keeping a child active, be it mentally, be it physical or whatever, and how all of that sort of contributes to your learning.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
yeah,
So
hopefully music also if we can. Yeah.
you said music?
Come. Yeah. Hopefully, yes, that's also on the agenda at some point in time. Basic.
Awesome.
At least you get to do a class and then figure out whether that's the way you want to go on.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish this was there when I was a kid. I
That's
wish,
what
yeah,
ambition. Yeah.
brilliant. Brilliant. And this is, honestly, I think this is great. Like, I made a video on this when the whole lockdown started off, and I was sharing my pants in terms of like the economics of it. Uh, and I was just thinking, I was like, well, okay, the virus is going to spread to Pakistan. How can we collectively create an impact? And this is your
Yeah.
impact. I think this is like hats off to you and Maria and Solat, you said?
Yeah.
Hats off to you
And
guys. But damn. So, as a final note, Anushe, let's wrap this up. I think this is actually it's great to see how it's all come full circle for you. And this has been one of those life lessons
yeah.
that yeah, everyone has to be patient to experience as well. Patience is
Still
key.
being patient, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully 5 years later the conversation will be different.
Yeah.
There'll be more like, look at all of the things that have actually come to fruition, inshallah.
इंशाल्लाह आप बैठे होंगे बोले याद है वो दिन हम सोचते क्या करते थे कि कुछ बड़ा करेंगे हम काम. No, so if you could go back in time, Anushe, and this is maybe something which you could keep in mind, your little babies that you're teaching right now, or the parents of those babies as well, the biological parents of those babies. But
Yeah.
so if you could go back in time and you could meet your childhood self, what would you tell her?
You don't have the answers. Just keep swimming. There's a reason we were told this in Finding Nemo. I think that was the movie. Yeah.
It was
Just keep going, man. Something or the other we'll figure out. You don't know what it is. Just keep going.
sweet. So all right, and you guys heard it. Anushe, once again, thank you so much for coming on. This is
Thank
like
you
a
for having
blast from the past. Um, and it's also very interesting to see is that well we're both somehow like we're both struggling to do what really makes us happy as compared to struggling for solving a problem or trying to find a solution or like to just make ends meet or something right now. And now it's that struggle is in a different capacity altogether. So thank you very much, Anushe.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. This was episode, I don't know which one, but you'll see it in the thumbnail and in the title of this podcast. Hope you guys liked it. Stay tuned for the next one. I'm gonna try and be more regular, I promise. Till the next one, take care everybody. Bye bye.